Thank you all for coming today. We just concluded what I consider to be the beginning of a very close working relationship. I'd even go so far as to say a partnership between the public school systems throughout Marion County and the office of the mayor. Frankly, it has always existed. We have 11 public school corporations in Marion County. And every mayor, in his own way, I'm sure has been an advocate for public education in Marion County. But one of the things that I am most encouraged by is the participation of all the school superintendents in this morning's conversation. And that's really what it was. It was the beginning of a partnership that I hope will profoundly impact and advantage public education throughout Marion County. Of the school corporations represented today, each has their own specific challenges. None are necessarily the same, although there are clearly common interests that we as a county, alongside the city administration, should address. Some of those challenges involve just provision of essential services to the children that these school superintendents are charged with serving. There is a critical need in many areas, and to the extent that they can comment on those critical needs, I'm sure they are very well positioned to do so. So we're going to continue to talk about how we can better provide services to our students so that they can be afforded the opportunity to matriculate and have choices in their lives that keep them safe, keep them off the streets, keep them making good decisions, and hopefully when our graduation rates, which continue to go up in Marion County, which is an important thing to convey this morning, that we are succeeding in public education in so many ways that get overlooked. When they do graduate, they are able to go on to perhaps college, maybe vocational technical training, maybe licensures, maybe apprenticeship programs, maybe certifications. They are able to get additional services and education that will even make them more competitive in the 21st century. The second, I think, common denominator that was discussed today is our community of interests and how many, in so many ways, we share. Even though we represent different corners of the city or different townships, or in some cases, incorporated cities within the city of Indianapolis, we do share a sense of community and in that way a sense of common purpose. But we also were honest enough to acknowledge to one another that property tax caps in many ways put us in competition with one another. Not the competition that turns us into adversaries over and against each other, because we all share that common purpose of educating our kids. But the truth is that property tax caps have had a profound effect on the delivery of public education, particularly in the urban areas and, of course, uniquely to the city of Indianapolis. So ultimately, let me just conclude, and I'd be happy to open it up for questions or comments from any of the superintendents who would like to speak to these issues or any others. No conclusions were drawn today. I shared, by the way, with the superintendents the educational platform that we announced during the course of the campaign. I think we made a tentative commitment to come back together again to meet, maybe perhaps in a month or so when their schedules permit, so that they can vet for me their particular and unique perspectives as to what I said during the campaign and how we might be able to go forward or not with some of my ideas for more quality education for our kids. addressing issues like our teacher shortage, which I think that they can speak to more eloquently than I can. And some of the ideas that I promoted during the course of the campaign as it relates to expulsion, suspension, and the so-called school-to-prison pipeline that I had a personal opportunity to observe serving as the United States Attorney. So there are many challenges. Today's conversation was the beginning of what I hope will be continued communication. I want to be an outspoken advocate on behalf of public education as the mayor of the city of Indianapolis, and that is the importance of this morning's meeting, and I hope more to come. So I know that I've spoken too long, but that's a summary of what was discussed. I want to thank each of the superintendents for giving us the better part of more than an hour of their time, because I think these communications will help improve the delivery of services to our kids, and after all, that's why we're all here. So thank you for coming. I'd be happy to answer questions or open it up for the superintendents and their comments as well.
One of the things that's always come up that you made initially in your campaign is the issue of child poverty. One of the things that the Brookings Institute has said, the easiest way to keep kids out of poverty is graduate from high school, wait until after you're married to have children, etc. Will there be any of that part of the conversations with schools? Because the data shows pretty clear, a lot of kids who live in poverty, it's single parent homes, and usually the single parent is a high school dropout.
Yeah. Well, Abdullah, it won't surprise you to know that, frankly, while we were talking about specifics, the underlying concern in many of the topics that we talked about today is the exponential rise in the level of poverty in Marion County. And until and unless we begin to have conversations and ultimately addressing poverty, maybe more in the bailiwick of the city, along with our partners in private, philanthropic, charitable communities. But clearly, these superintendents are the ones that see it up close and personal. Every day in their hallways, they see it statistically in the number of their children that they serve who qualify for free or reduced school breakfast and lunch programs. So yes, I mean, I think that the educational challenges that they face at the local level in their school corporations are inextricably linked with the rise in poverty. And we're all committed to doing something about that.
Mayor, will you be having the same conversations with charter schools?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't discuss charter schools today, although those are discussions that I would be happy to engage the school superintendents in the future. We had Ahmed Young and Kristen Hines here today to participate on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Charter Schools and the Office of Education Innovation. We didn't discuss charter schools today, but that's obviously a topic that that kind of transcends both the Mayor's Office and public school corporations.
Mayor, maybe yourself and your new friends can respond on this. How do we know?
Actually, some of them are old friends.
How do we know if we're making any progress when we've got the I-STEP test coming out today and they're going, okay, well, this was brand new, but this may not be relevant, and we've already had problems with it. You guys had to administer the I-STEP test, so I can imagine you're somewhat disappointed. How do we even know if we're going to make progress if we can't even depend on I-STEP and the state to tell us how good our kids are doing?
Well, they're in a much better position, Russ, to talk about I-STEP and how that has gone than I am. In answer to your question, I would judge success by the ability to graduate our kids, to encourage quality educational opportunities for all of the children of Indianapolis in whatever shape or form that may come, keeping kids engaged in good decision making. As I said many times during the course of the campaign, as a former federal prosecutor, it seems to me, if I was elected mayor, and I guess I have been, the challenge is not to rescue kids from the criminal justice system, but to try to figure out ways that we can keep our kids out of the criminal justice system altogether. I'll let any of the school superintendents who want to talk about ISTEP make a comment about your question, but those are the ways that as mayor, I want to adjudge success. How are our kids matriculating through public school and public education? How many kids are graduating? What kind of opportunities are they afforded beyond K through 12, which I just referred to? You know, is it K through 13 now? Is it K through 14? What is 13? What is 14? Is it college? Is it vocational or technical training? Is it some kind of licensure program or certification? It may take many forms, but we want to give our young people as many advantages as they can be to be productive and civic-oriented adults once they reach that age. Anybody want to take the ISTEP question?
Love to comment.
Okay, great. You might identify yourself.
Dr. Woodson, Superintendent, Washington Township. In Marion County Public Schools, we can't rely on one test given one time a year to be the marker of progress for our students in our schools. We each individually have multiple assessment measures in which we measure our students' progress and look at our schools' continuous improvement efforts. Those efforts would be identified in our school improvement plans. Certainly, ISTEP is one of those assessments, but it's not the only assessment in any of our schools. I give the analogy to my parents that if I step on a scale once a year to determine my wellness and fitness and weight loss program, that would not be enough. And every parent agrees with me with that. And it's the same with the assessment of our students. ISTEP is stepping on the scale one time a year. We can't allow that to be the marker of our progress. So without those scores, as was asked, we still know progress of our students. We're still able to report out progress to individual parents, and we're still able to look at each individual school and determine progress that they are making in areas of needed and continuous improvement.
Do you have any faith in ISTEP and the state's ability to administer that test?
I have the same concerns that have been very vocalized in the media. I share those same concerns because we've lived those same concerns with the administration of the test. But again, we don't rely on that as our sole marker of progress.
As superintendents, was it a mistake for the state of Indiana to get out of Common Core?
Yes.
Because it seems like a... But don't just throw me aside. And the reason why I ask that question is because, as you all know, as superintendents, the original tests were geared toward, you know, Common Core, but a bunch of people got worked up over whatever those issues were. We got out, had to rechange, revamp everything.
Absolutely. I think Common Core was basically the way we should have gone. We still would have been able to compete nationally. We would have had the PARC assessment, which 46 other states are participating in, and also the Department of Defense. And so that would give us a national understanding of how our students are doing. So leaving Common Core, moving to Indiana standards, as I've looked at them, about 93% are still Common Core. So we're still taking a very rigorous test, but nationally, we cannot disservice our students when it comes to SAT money for colleges, and I think that's what we're doing. So I really believe we should have stayed the Common Core track. Our students would have not missed 2 or 3 years of education because we were flopping on what we needed to do. So I believe Common Core standards would be something we should do just to participate in the national discussion.
To all the superintendents.
Dina Cushenberry, Warren Township.
To all the superintendents there, I'm looking down the list of problems that need to be solved. I don't see anything new. I've seen administrations take on these problems before. Based upon your discussions today, what makes you think that this time around you can find something that works better than what's working right now? What's the sign of hope, encouragement here?
Jeff Butts, MSD of Wayne Township. To your question, this is really the first opportunity that we've had to get together with the mayor and have a collective conversation. I think that's the first step, and we appreciate the mayor's office for opening up the doors and opening up this conference room to have that conversation. It's not occurred regularly in the past. We appreciate the mayor being willing to do that on a regular basis and to engage in that dialogue to try to find that common ground. The reality is 11 and a half months ago, we gave the 2015 ISTEP, and our teachers know each and every day what's happening in the classroom. They know each and every day where those students are and what adjustments need to be made so that we can continue their progress. I think the mayor said it very well. Our job is to prepare children to be college and career ready on time. And so while there are benchmarks along the way, that's what's happening each and every day inside of our classrooms. Now the question is, how do we communicate that to our publics? And with the new reauthorization of ESSA, I think we have a tremendous opportunity in the state of Indiana and across this country to look at the old assessment system, which was required under No Child Left Behind, and to look at the new assessment system, which is yet to be developed. But there are new opportunities within the state, and I know the Department of Education and the State Board of Education are interested in having that dialogue. And so I think for us to be engaged in that conversation, both here at our local level with the mayor, but also with our General Assembly and with the Department of Education, is critical for us as we look forward to making those changes so that we can have a system by which we can communicate to our public, even outside of our walls, even outside of our communities, as to the progress that our children are making on a regular basis. And we just have not had that opportunity with this current level, with this current ISTEP, getting the results 11 and a half months after we gave the examination.
Do you have any faith in ISTEP and the state's ability to administer that test and interpret those results?
There's some concerns with the shift that we've had, and we know that we've had a shift partly because of the change with the Indiana academic standards. So in that shift, we've also had a shift with the company that's administering the examination. And so this assessment, of course, has a tremendous number of issues that we've seen come across and has been addressed in the media quite well. We appreciate the attention that you've given to it so that what we knew was happening within our own school corporations also became more public. Our hope is that through our continued conversation with the Department of Education, the State Board of Education, our General Assembly, that we can take the assessment we currently have and make it better so that it's something that can be identifiable for all.
Mayor Hogsett, obviously there's been a lot more cooperation between IPS and charter schools. There's talk of, Dr. Farabee said last year, I think, that he would be in favor of some sort of unified enrollment system or going along those lines. Did you guys talk about that at all? And do you think that a unified enrollment system would be something countywide that would be of interest to superintendents here and yourself?
Well, specifically, Dr. Farabee and I did not talk about that this morning, although we have had conversations about that. And, I think as mayor, I need to take direction from the leadership of all school corporations. So if, a unified enrollment system is something that works well for IPS, if that is the way we engage, and if we have a great deal of success in that regard, to the extent that other school corporations would want to replicate that or participate, we're certainly open to that. But as the mayor, I have to be mindful that each of these individuals who stand behind me today have been, in many respects, they may not be directly elected office holders, right? But they have been appointed by elected school boards. And so I am mindful that the role of the mayor of the city of Indianapolis is not to tell local public school corporations how to run their business. The reason for the meeting today is so that I can be aware of the challenges that they face and frankly use this bully pulpit as a way of promoting public education. Not only, by the way, to all of you in the media, communicating to people in your listening or viewing audiences, but rather as well playing a positive and important role in the halls of the General Assembly on behalf of the children of Marion County. Dr. Farabee, you want to comment on that?
Morning, Haley. Good to see you. We've said really clearly that our interest in common enrollment and partnering with other educational providers is not limited to the mayor's office. What we see is a challenge, particularly in our IPS boundaries, that we have multiple providers that aren't communicating. It's very complex for families to explore all the options available to them. And so we believe the more information we can share, the greater collaboration we have, parents will benefit and can truly make the best decision for their family about what school their child should attend. And then having that information accessible to all of the providers will help us plan for enrollment, also allow us to better share student data as well. So we're exploring that right now. We look forward to further conversation, but very preliminary conversations at this time.
And Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Good, good. How are you doing?